Good afternoon, classmates, and welcome to Design Week Philippines 2021 Design Connections. My name is Miguel Cervantes, and I will be your host and moderator this fine day. This is a special year for Design Week Philippines because it is celebrating its 10th birthday. That's old enough to be in grade 5. At yesterday's talk, Design for Everyday, we heard from artists and creatives who use design as a platform for promoting their advocacies and causes. Design has proven itself to be a very powerful tool in shaping our narratives for a better future. We always say that we are preparing for the design of the future. But you know what else is the future? The children, of course. Today is all about the kids and the kids at heart. How we can use design as an approach to learning and how we can maximize their creativity by giving them early design education. But before we get into today's talk, design education for kids, allow me to acknowledge the partners and friends who have supported this year's festival. The Design Center and Design Week Philippines would like to thank the following: the Department of Trade and Industry, our festival co-curator, Fringe Manila and Pineapple Lab, our international partner, British Council, our creative media partner, Adobo Magazine, our live stream partner, Kumu, our design partner, Canva, and of course, our program partners, NASA Space Apps Philippines, and the Half, Fame Plus, Buensalido Architects, University of Cebu Animation, UXPH, LifeAfterBreakfast.ph, Matic Hub, Robbins Design Center, Philippine International Comics Online Festival, Comiket, Design Davao Society, Architecture Design de Oro, Cagayan de Oro Design Week. If you in the audience would want to show your support as well, don't forget to post us with the hashtag DesignWeekPH 2021. Along with Design Week Philippines, the Design Center of the Philippines would also like to present a new project. It's called Better Normal by Design. Better Normal by Design is about data-driven design, the design process, and product development resulting in design solutions fit for the times. Collections of objects were designed quintessentially for the three localized personas: the stabilizer, the settler, and the new optimists. These collections anticipate the needs and requirements of the personas' emerging lifestyles while being mindful of the consumer shift towards responsible consumerism. Better Normal by Design nudges the Filipino MSMEs into action to rethink products, processes, including business plans, and even reasons to existing to resonate with the future of businesses. So download that lookbook by scanning the QR code shown on the screen now. Now, class, we will begin our talk with a graded recitation. Just kidding. No, we will just be having a very, very short audience engagement activity. So we will now be flashing a QR code across the screen. Give that QR code a scan so that you can join in on our activity. And if you have a hard time accessing it through the QR code, you can always head on over to the website www.menti.com and use the code 27671910. It is also scrolling at the bottom of the screen. So while you are all scanning the code or logging in, let me explain to you what is going to be happening next. We will be asking you two very simple questions. The first question will be very simple and you should be giving short answers. One word is actually perfect. Then when we finish answering, we will transform those answers into a word cloud. Now the second question will be a bit more open-ended. This can be longer, shorter, or any length you want. You can answer more freely here. It's up to you. Now, is everybody ready? Here comes our first question. So the first question for the day. Word cloud question is, as a child, what did you want to be when you grow up? I'm already seeing a lot of teachers, lawyers, architects, pop stars, wow, marine biologists, flight attendants. You know, for me, I wanted to be a pilot when I was younger. It changed to becoming a scientist. See, teachers, what else? Keep them coming, guys. We see craftsmen. To be happy. Oh, that's a very good goal to have. Philippine president. Wow. Doctor of photography, or doctor or photography rather. Comic book artist, zookeeper. Keep them coming, guys. These are growing and growing. All right. So, while you guys are answering that, we'll open up with the second question. So this is the open-ended question, and it reads, since this is the 10th year celebration of Design Week Philippines, what is your wish for Philippine design today? All right. I'm interested to see what you guys will want to say. To grow, of course, yeah. Keep them coming. To thrive. Human-centeredness, I think, yeah, that's very, very important in design today. To have its own identity, yes, these. To support Philippine artists and designers. To be supported by the government, just like in Korea. Interesting. Maangat sa laylayan ang presyuhan ng design work dito. Inclusivity and accessibility for all. Wow, there's a lot already. Keep inspiring. Very nice. To be more recognized locally, like what it's doing internationally. Very nice. Of course, inclusivity. Global acknowledgement. I think it's a very common theme I'm seeing so far. To continue prospering and reach out fellow designers. Equality. All right, looks like there's a lot of answers. Very, very interesting wishes, no, for Philippine design. Hopefully, after the end of this week, we are able to instigate better questions and better inspirations in the Philippine design. So thank you, everyone, for sending in those answers. You all get an A+ from me. So with that, we would like to begin our presentations with the introduction of our very first speaker. She is the school director and co-founder of the Raya School, a progressive school with branches in Quezon City and Naga City. She's also the vice president for product development at Adarna House. She also lectures in UP Diliman and Miriam College. So I'd like you to welcome our first speaker, Dr. Ani Almario. Hi, Dr. Ani. Good afternoon.
Hi, Miguel. I hope I get an A in your class.
Definitely. You know, with your accolades, very, very impressive. You get an A++++. You know, I think it goes without saying that you already have that passion for education, given your background. Before we begin your presentation, I'd like to ask you a simple question, lang. How would you envision the impacts of the efforts of your career, down the line?
Well, I'm hoping there will be more progressive approaches to education. And I'm hoping we can also all influence, all of us involved in this conference, influence other schools to take on design thinking, do it in basic ed.
Very nice. I'm very interested to hear what you have to say for your presentation too. So before I go, I'd like to inform our audience members that if they have any questions for Dr. Ani, you may leave it in the chat for us to answer during our Q&A at the end of the session, of course. And don't forget to post about Design Week Philippines with the hashtag DesignWeekPH 2021. Again, let's give it up for Dr. Ani Almario.
Thank you. How do you design a nation or a citizen? Design might not be the most perfect word for the undertaking, but that is the critical question that we sought to answer when we built the Raya School in 2005. My husband and I were fresh from graduate studies abroad, and while we were away, that's when we realized that the Philippine educational system did not especially produce patriots. We founded Raya in 2005 and adopted the tagline, Baguhin ang Mundo, because that is what we hoped our students would do, change the world with their ideas and their actions. The decision to set up a progressive school as opposed to a traditional one was deliberate. We believe that the best way to bring up inquisitive and creative designers was through a progressive environment built on the principles of experiential education, critical pedagogy, and social change. So, how does design thinking fit into all of this? When we design anything, whether it be a form of tech, an approach to doing things, or a solution to a community based problem, we bring our beliefs and experiences, we bring results of conversations and consultation with various people, we bring in our expertise, we bring in our aspirations. Because we wanted our students to have both respect and skill in designing, we decided to infuse a lot of inquiry in our curriculum. From preschool to elementary, the children use the project approach. Each project is informed and steered by their own questions. Here's a favorite picture of mine from a second grade project about rice that had us planting rice with farmers in Pampanga. I remember how happy the children were to meet real farmers and to get all muddy. In projects, the children learn to inquire, measure, make detailed notes and drawings, and converse with all sorts of people, which made them ready for another form of inquiry and problem solving, which is design thinking. In grade 7, our students have design thinking as a subject. In design thinking, children learn to listen to other people. They learn that you will surely have your own ideas and solutions to a problem, but the best solution will come from empathizing with the people you're designing for. In design thinking, kids also learn to deal with failure. When their initial ideas and prototypes fail or need a lot of tweaking, design thinking teaches them that this is part of the problem solving and design process. Here's design thinking pre-pandemic. Our grade 9 class needed a classroom shelf, and so they made a drawing, they made a prototype with paper, tape, and string, and then they made their own shelf through woodwork. From ideas to prototypes to an actual design project or object. And now here we are, learning design thinking over Zoom, and the designing still continues as it did pre-pandemic. From the design of a smartwatch that plays your favorite song when it detects your stress levels going up, I need one, to design solutions for cities that are suffering the effects of climate change. One of our seventh graders made a headphone slash mask with noise canceling and oxygen feature to help his dad who has sleep apnea. And here we see his dad so happy with the prototype that his son made. Another project from a seventh grader for her mom who's a crafter. Here's her sketch on the left and her prototype on the right for a cabinet that turns into a workstation for her mom. Taking it even further, we teach systems thinking in grade 8 so that when our students end up designing solutions, they realize that these solutions will actually operate in a system. And so they need to have a macro view of problems and situations. So why again is design so important in education, or at least in the kind of education that Raya envisions? Because inquiry, projects, and design thinking, these all promote the kind of Filipino we're hoping to raise. First, Filipinos with empathy who listen to other people's needs and help them out the best way they could. Design thinking leads to a collaborative individual who sees the wisdom in putting a lot of heads and hearts into solving a problem and who sees the role of dialogue in finding solutions. Design thinking gives rise to creative and critical problem solvers who aren't afraid of having their ideas dissected or even shot down, who attack problems in a systematic and human-centered way. Can you imagine if design thinking was required in basic education? Imagine the innovations Filipino kids would come up with, and imagine the kind of nation we would build. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Annie, for sharing the innovative ways that you've transformed education. I'm very impressed. No? Relatively new school since 2005, less than 20 years, but still, you guys have been doing great in the forefront of progressive education. I love that you're using experiential learning, that your kids are actually immersed in planting rice in Pampanga, and your kids are actually getting to learn formally design thinking at such a young age, at grade 7. I'm impressed, and I would love to see how that moves forward and I'm looking forward to hearing more about it during the Q&A. But anyway, we also have 3 more speakers coming down. And here's a little something about our second presenter. So currently, she is the president and CEO of FELTA Multimedia, Inc., a 56-year-old company engaged in introducing innovative instructional materials and educational devices for school technology. Having recently won awards such as United Nations Woman Empowerment Awardee for Leadership, Commitment, and Gender Responsive Marketplace, and Asia's Top Outstanding Woman Marketer of the Year. She is proud of her work as a mother, a model entrepreneur, a mountain climber, and a master in multitasking. Please welcome Mylene Abiva.
Hello,
Hi, Mylene.
Miguel. Good afternoon to everyone.
Good afternoon to
I'm
you.
so excited.
Wow, I'm excited too. Like, just reading your introduction was very, it was long, and wow, 56-year-old company. I mean, you've pretty much witnessed almost 6 decades of the educational system at work.
That's
Now,
right.
I have a quick question. No? What would you say the difference is between the needs of the students today compared to the needs of the students of yesteryear?
Oh, the need for our students of today to be innovative. We have to be innovative thinkers, innovative in our mindset, and we should also have a growth mindset. We should not be content at where we are. We always have to, go beyond our learning, beyond the 4 corners of our home or our classroom. That's where we should be.
Very interesting. All right. Again, I'd like to remind our audience members that if they have questions for Mylene, they may leave it in the chat for us to answer during the Q&A. So, Mylene, I leave the floor back to you. Once again, the one and only Mylene Abiva.
Thank you, Miguel. All right. For our viewers, we're going to be talking about something very familiar. We have Lego and Minecraft. Okay. FELTA Multimedia, being a 56-year-old company, has been won an Innovative Company of the Year in the ASEAN CEO Awards. And that is a feat because we are a 56-year-old company and we continue to innovate. And this is the kind of learning that we would like to inculcate in our students, the STEAM, which is science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics. And we went through this through the I Create Cafe Manila, which is the first Lego education on-demand learning center in the Philippines. And this is what we would like to show you pre-pandemic.
Kung mahilig kayo magbutingting at pangarap niyong makagawa ng sarili niyong robot, ito ang lugar na perfect para maging training ground niyo.
Yung activities dito sa iCreate on renewable energy ay nagtuturo sa ating mga guests dito na pwedeng magamit ang water, wind, and solar power to power their creations. Yung robotics po is ideal for age 9 above. Yung programming po sa Widow ay napakasimple. Kahit nga po 4 years old, pwede pong mag-programming na.
So that is the I Create Cafe Manila. And what have we done when the COVID struck? And what is the impact in the education? We went virtual. So I Create Cafe Manila has now gone virtual, and we have inculcated the robotics in STEM. So STEM is science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics. And we've gone through our webinars and our workshops virtually. And we have also partnered with the Department of Education through their Tech Talks. And we have also been conducting STEM training and webinars for Minecraft education. And later on, we will have a student to do the demonstrator. I will have Sophia, who will be our demonstrator, and she is our Minecraft education ambassador. In addition, Minecraft education tutorials is conducted so that we can have our learners create worlds that is beyond the real worlds. And we are also teaching them on how to build, including Code Builder. Code Builder is a prerequisite for coding, and we're teaching our students not only creativity as well as We are also teaching them coding from Blockly to Java to MicroPython. And here we have the second Philippine National Minecraft competition, which was just launched a few weeks ago, 2 weeks ago, in fact. And we have our theme, Smart Cities, where the students made their creations and build their worlds so that we can have and create a better tomorrow. And I wish to announce that I'm proud to say that FELTA Multimedia was awarded by Microsoft for the Microsoft Global Training Partner of the Year for Best in Minecraft Education Edition. And I'd like to make this short and sweet because we have a lot in store for you for this time that was given to us. And I'm proud to say that the FELTA Multimedia has been a LEGO education partner for 22 strong years and getting stronger, as well as a Minecraft and Microsoft Global Training Partner in the Philippines. So now I'd like to introduce the General Manager of the I Create Cafe Manila, Ms. Mylene Abiva.
Hello, Miss Mylene. Good afternoon. Okay, so thank you so much for that wonderful introduction. So again, good afternoon to everyone. So Miss Mylene talked about the workshop and the courses that we offer at I Create Cafe Manila. I Create Cafe Manila is a Lego Education Creativity Center on demand. Wherein what we want is to offer activity, workshop, and courses that is integrated with STEM in a very fun and exciting way. Now that we experience COVID-19 pandemic, we need to do transition from face-to-face workshop to a remote learning setup, enable for us to go proceed with all the programs that we have. So with that, I'm going to show you some of the solutions that we are using at iCreate Cafe Manila. Before, let me show you my robot. Before, we are actually using actual robots. So as you can see from here, I have here my Lego Education EB3 robot. But then, since most of the kids cannot go outside and we cannot have our face-to-face workshop, we use Lego Digital Designer and Minecraft for education for our robotics. Now, um, what I'm going to show you at the moment is the Lego Digital Designer. So this is a software that we use for remote workshop. This software will let you build model with virtual Lego bricks rather, and you can even get part list and building instructions so you can build your model in real life. So at the moment, what I am sharing with you is the LDD welcome screen, and as you can see from here, I have here my three different tabs. So basically, for Lego Digital Designer, there you go. It comes with three different themes. We have Lego Digital Designer, we have Lego Mindstorms, and Lego Digital Designer Extended. So for the first tab, it will let you build your dream model from a huge selections of Lego bricks. So let me share you an example. So when you click the pre-build, definitely it will lead you to the view area. It's the canvas. It's the working space where we can build robots, or we can build any projects that we want to build. And then on the right side, on this area, we have here the brick palette. And the brick palette gives you access to an unlimited number of bricks that you can build with. Since it offers a huge variety of Lego bricks, you can actually expand it into dividers. There you go. And you're going to see a huge selections of Lego pieces. Then right afterwards, we can filter bricks by colors as well. And then we can filter bricks with the core set itself. Now, as you can see, this is the working space. This is how we're gonna do the Lego. I have here my sample creation. So let me show you this one. I'm going to import a model. Then right afterwards, automatically it will be inserted to the canvas, to the working space. Then from there, we also have the tools that we use enable for us to build it on the screen. And then we have here three different modes. Okay, so we have here the build mode. There you go. It's the area where we can build and edit our project. Then right afterwards, we have our view mode. Then right afterwards, we also have our building guide mode. So technically, this is one of the solutions that we are using and able for us to proceed and continue with all the programs that we have. And as just for your information, since that we are under Lego Education, all the materials that we are using comes with the integrated curriculum that is designed for science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. And for you to know more with the programs that we have, let me introduce Sophia Celine Aban. She is our ambassador for Minecraft Education Edition. Hello, Sophia.
Hello, good afternoon.
All right, please take it away.
All right. So, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Sophia Celine Adan, and I'm 11 years old, Minecraft Education Edition Ambassador of FELTA Multimedia Incorporated. And today, we're going to talk about how to be creative using Minecraft Education Edition. And I'm very excited. So, Minecraft is described as a sandbox game. And this means that Minecraft is a virtual land where users can create their own worlds and experience using building blocks. Minecraft has been described as a game with no rules. It does not come with a set of instructions or stated objectives. Player can simply be creative and explore as they learn. But did you know that there's an educational version of Minecraft? Right, so go. Minecraft Education Edition. You all have a question. What is it? It is an open world game that promotes creativity, collaboration, and problem solving in an immersive environment where the only limit is your imagination. So you only just have to peek in your mind and then build it, which is really, really fun. Next is, and also, if you have a 365 account, you will have access in Minecraft. So the question is, what can you do in Minecraft Education Edition? First is, there's a lot of things that you can do in it actually. First is collaborate on projects with your classmates or friends, document your works, and share in class where you could do that in the portfolio or book and quiz. You could personalize your game, effectively communicate learning objectives in the game. Play in a secure environment with your classroom community and ask helpful guide for more information, including digital resources. Okay, now next is learning through play. It is a game-based learning that meets students where they are and where they want to be. Engage in the play that challenge them, given room to be creative and fail forward, and taking risks that iterate along the way. Dig into the game-based learning and using play to make an application of real-world skills more engaging. Just like me, whenever I play Minecraft, there's no pressure at all because I'm having fun while the process at the same time. Cool, right? Which is very, very amazing. In Minecraft Education Edition, we have here classroom collaboration, programming, which is my favorite, and problem solving. In subject kits, we have here language arts, computer science, science, mathematics, history and culture, and art and design. And now, for the most awaited part, let me just share my screen. I'm very excited to show you this one. Very, very excited to see. All right, let me just open Minecraft Education Edition. All right, here we go. Here we are at the interface at Minecraft Education Edition. We have here Play, New Featured, where you can see here the updates if Minecraft Education Edition add new worlds. You have your settings, switch accounts if you accidentally put on a different account. And my most favorite is where you can change your character. I actually download the skin packs. And for now on, we gotta click play, view my worlds, because this is where I do it. Be creative. All right. Now let's play. So in Minecraft Education Edition, it's very fun because almost everything you can learn, like STEAM, it means for science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics, which is fun. So here we have monthly challenge. Be creative. Did you know that bees pollinate approximately 1/3 of the food we eat? Pollination is an important part of the life cycle of many plants that allows them to produce fruit. Your challenge this month is to build a pollinator garden in Minecraft. Plant some crops in nearby and watch what happens. So here I built a simple garden for the bees. And right here I have created a bee house where I made this, and the purpose of this is because we all know that bees have to find a flower so they can eat it and make honey, but here they just have to get out of their house and eat. So if you don't know, they just have to eat the flower and create honey. But where do we put the honey? By the help of all people, we have here a bee yard where where the bees will just put the honeys there, and which is very, very cool. As you can see, we have here the honey. And now, I hope you learned something for today. And if you want to learn more, we have here some contact details, FELTA Multimedia, and okay, let's click the agent. So we have here my YouTube channel, which is right here. Okay, kindly please subscribe there. And oops. And FELTA website, which is right here. You can see there more details if you want to learn more and more about lots of things and Lego. So I would like to thank you.
Right. So that is Annalyn talking about Lego Digital Designer. By the way, it is free, so you can download it and make your creations using Lego bricks in the virtual space. And the Minecraft Education Edition ambassador, Sophia Celine, talking to us about Minecraft and game-based learning. Now, all of this is available through FELTA Multimedia Incorporated. And if you're interested to venture into these programs and platforms, please do get in touch with us or visit our website, www.felta.ph. Back to you, Miguel.
Thank you, Mylene, for sharing your presentation and the wonderful work that you guys have been doing. Very, very impressed with Sophia's presentation skills. So very young and already very, very eloquent. I love the whole STEAM-based approach and the fact that you're still able to cope up with remote learning, especially with robotics. I would have assumed that since robotics required you to be present, you're still able to find ways to bring it into an online format. And loving how you're able to improve teacher capability by conducting free webinars on Minecraft education. All right, so let's keep this moving. I'd love to introduce to you our very next speaker. She is an early childhood educator at the Miriam College Child Study Center of Grade School. She is also an advocate of design thinking and project-based learning. She co-authored the Laro Likha Linang resource book for the first PBL source book in the country. She is also a managing partner and learning experience innovator at Sprout Lab, a process art and play-based alternative activities provider for young learners. So please welcome to the virtual stage, Bettina Luciano. Hi, Bettina. It's wonderful to meet you.
Hello. So happy to be here.
You know, I have to say, I have the utmost respect for those that teach, especially for the youngest ages. No, I've taught in the university in the past. I've handled teens and professionals alike, but Nothing like teaching the younger brackets. It's not a walk in the park at all. So I have the utmost respect for you guys.
It's
And you know, we
yes.
share the same ideology at the makerspace. We share a very very similar ideology as to what you've been preaching also. How would you say you differentiate your approach from others?
Oh yeah. Okay. A big difference with our approach is that first, our school is a big institution, and we work around target skills, grades, core values. So there are more things to consider in planning and implementing, but it also provides a less intimidating and realistic approach to other big institutions like Miriam. That they can enjoy the benefits of having a makerspace and doing design thinking.
Very nice. So, guys, once again, if any of you in the audience has any questions for Bettina later, you can leave it in the chat for us to answer during the Q&A. Again, let's give it up for Bettina Luciano.
Okay. So, hi again, everybody. I'm Bettina from the Miriam College Child Study Center Grade School, and I'm here to share with you the wonders of learning through play and how we do design thinking at the preschool level. So, let's start first with something that Donaldson said. Children learn as they play, and most importantly, in play, children learn how to learn. Do you agree? Me, I certainly do. Actually, according to a report by UNICEF in partnership with LEGO, scientific research over the past 30 years has taught us that the most important period of human development is from birth to 8 years. So during these years, the development of cognitive skills, emotional well being, social competence, and sound physical and mental health builds a strong foundation for success well into the adult years. So, although learning takes place throughout life, in early childhood, learning is taking place at a speed that will never be equaled. So, imagine how fast that is. That is why the early years is very important because it lays the groundwork for success in school and beyond. But we also need to take note that learning through play is still relevant through the whole early childhood period and in the succeeding developmental years. So, play is one of the most important ways in which young children gain essential knowledge and skills. And that is what I will briefly talk to you about. So, why is play important? Let's start first with something that Dr. Karen Purvis said. So, Dr. Karen Purvis is the co founder of the Karen Purvis Institute of Child Development at Texas Christian University and the co creator of Trust Based Relation Intervention. She's also a co author and an advocate for the adoption genre. And she said that, she is also known for her research demonstrating how a child's behavior, neurochemistry, and life trajectory can change given the right environment. So she said that scientists have recently determined that it takes approximately 400 repetitions to create a new synapse in the brain, unless it is done through play, in which case it takes between 10 to 20 repetitions. So totoo po kaya ang sinabi ni Dr. Purvis? So let's try this out. Those who are in Zoom, you can also just think of your answer. I'm not sure if the kids nowadays still play this, but do you remember what toy this is? So I think some of the speakers also play this. This is the Jackstone. So this simple toy and the game I loved to play when I was young was able to teach us the following skills. So these are some of the skills. We have motor skills when we catch and grab the jacks and stone. We have eye-hand coordination, math skills because we are required to count, may grouping pa, and then there's also a technique of throwing and getting the correct number of jacks. It also helps with our memory because you need to remember which level you're in or which exhibition stages you're done with. And the kids are also required to remember patterns, directions as we learn clockwise or counterclockwise, and of course values. Taking turns, honesty, kung gumalaw ba talaga yung ibang jacks when you try to grab them. So this simple toy and game was already able to help us develop so many skills in a fun way. No rote learning happened. And this what makes play so important Connecting this to what Dr. Purvis said, just compare having a child, sit and memorize to learn how to count, to or have a child play this game and learn while having fun. Who do you think will learn faster, and who do you think is most likely to come back for more learning? So that's why play is so important, because it can be done in different types of settings. Play can be found outdoors, at home, in school, everywhere. No matter where we go, play is how children make sense of their environment, and it's how they engage. Play is also meaningful because children play to make sense of the world around them and to find meaning in an experience by connecting it to something already known, just like what the girl is doing here. Through play, children express and expand their understanding of their experiences. Play, of course, is joyful. Just look at their faces. So they're often smiling and laughing, and even grown ups do a lot of smiling and laughing when they play. Of course, play may have its frustrations and challenges, but the overall feeling is one of enjoyment, motivation, thrill, and pleasure. For us adults, our play become our hobbies. Notice when we are doing something we enjoy, we are not bothered by the challenges it poses. Play sparks joy not just for kids, but also for grown-ups. Play is also actively engaging. When you watch kids play, you will usually see that they become deeply involved, often combining physical, mental, and verbal engagement. So sometimes we suddenly hear our kids, speak in a different accent, play varied roles. So when kids are immersed in deep play, and it usually takes around 45 minutes of uninterrupted play, they take on different characters and scenarios, and they create their own magical world. Play is also iterative. Play and learning are not static. So children play to practice their skills, revise hypotheses, and discover new challenges, leading to deeper learning. When a box tower that they are trying to build collapses, no one in the group would say, okay, play's over. Kids usually find ways in school, and they usually make their way to the tape dispenser. Play gives children the opportunity to fail and learn from that. And of course, everyone knows play is socially interactive. It allows children to communicate ideas, to understand others through social interaction, paving the way to build deeper understanding and more powerful relationships. Friendships, alliances, and or otherwise are formed through play. So play fosters so much interest that learning just comes naturally. So I won't be able to see you, but let's do a quick game. So what do you see here? So we see blankets, but for a child, it could be a pair of binoculars or a cape that would make him a bunny or a rabbit or a different animal. How about now? What do you see? So we see a box, right? But for a child would usually see a house or maybe a boat. So kids and adults usually see things differently. We see things as they are, as grown-ups, but kids turn them into something else. And why is that? I am sure most of us are familiar with George Land's creativity test. In 1968, George Land conducted a research study to test the creativity of 1,600 children, ranging in ages from 3 to 5 years old, who were enrolled in a Head Start program. So this is the same creativity test that was devised for NASA to help select innovative engineers and scientists. The assessment worked so well, he decided to try it on children. So he retested the same children at 10 years of age and again at 15 of age, and the results, as you can see, are astounding. From 98% at 5 years old down to 30% at 10 years old, 12 at 15, and only 2% when they reach the adult stage. And what was the takeaway from this study? Non-creative behavior is learned. When kids are faced with challenges, they do not overthink and they do not put boundaries on their ideas. Kids remain open-minded to different types of solutions and they try each of them until one works. Because of play, kids aren't afraid to make mistakes. This is why they are divergent thinkers. They think with magic because play lets them think anything is possible. We are all creative, but most of us just unlearned it and learned a non-creative behavior. So I remember being able to create comic strips when I was young, but somehow I've forgotten how to draw or to even think of a decent storyline. So this is because non-creative behavior is learned. As George Bernard Shaw said, we do not stop playing because we grow old. We grow old because we stop playing. Ain't that the truth? So kids don't say play is hard. Work becomes hard because we lack interest. But play lets them do the work without feeling that it's a chore. Play has so much to offer, and it's really such an amazing thing to witness when it is used to make impact in real world problems. In the Child Study Center, we use design thinking with our kindergarten students to introduce a different way of solving problems through play. So during face-to-face pre-pandemic, our kindergarteners would have a separate 1 hour and a half session for design thinking. We usually start with storybooks because that's what they're familiar with, and their interests gravitate towards storybook characters. So we read the story and we ask them who they want to help, and then they figure out what the problem of the character is. So we have some examples like for the Three Billy Goats graph. Most kids would want to help the Three Billy Goats because the troll wouldn't let them pass. But there are some kids who also empathize with the troll, and they would say that the troll doesn't have, his own house, and he's not happy because he lives under the bridge. And for the storybook, but that won't wake me up, they want to help the girl, and they would use loose parts from our makerspace in school, and the kids were able to create devices that can help the girl wake up. And they were able to connect this with family members who are having a hard time waking up. So allow me to share with you some of their outputs. Here, for Rapunzel, the kids noted that Rapunzel was stuck in a tower and must save herself. So they created a slide, and we also asked them where else can we use this in real life, and they were able to think of people who are stuck in a building while it's on fire, and maybe firefighters can also have slides to help people go down faster. This one is from Humpty Dumpty. The kids created a a trampoline, and then when we asked them where can we use this in real life, and then they said no, maybe we need something that would protect us in case the big earthquake comes. So they were able to come up with their emergency cloak lifesaver, and it also included a pocket for the first aid kit. So the kids were able to create solutions in problems we face in real life, just like what we did here. So this is what we did during face-to-face, and then the pandemic hit and our contact time was reduced to an hour. So we had design challenges. So our design challenges weren't particularly faithful to the whole design thinking process, but it was just something that we couldn't let go. So we were able to do empathy, define, ideate, and prototype, but we weren't able to test our inventions. Allow me to share some of our inputs from last year.
Rescue Heroes! Last November 2020, Typhoon Ulysses affected a lot of Filipinos, and many places were flooded. Using our imagination and loose parts, we designed and created a rescue craft that we think might help the community helpers save as many victims' lives as possible.
So this year,
That was wonderful. Thank you to Bettina for reminding us that having fun is just as important as learning. No? We're just having some short tech issues, but we will be resuming in a bit. So while we're fixing the tech issues, let me go through some of the things that I've gotten through. No, uh, learning through play. I think it's very important in early child development. That's very very good that she's had that. No, the serious play. There's a lot of value, as she mentioned, in the tactile learning, including the social capital, the socialization that kids have. And it's sad that the studies that she showed us that there are some kids that just lose creativity as they get older. So this poses the question: how can we, as the purveyors of this next generation, make sure that we embrace the creativity of the child until they are actually adults? So it's wonderful what she's done. In Miriam, they have design thinking already as young as kindergarten. They make use of empathy and they make use of the available makerspace to solve problems. Imagine this is possibly a generation of problem solvers that are trying to solve real world scenarios and not just any other thing. No? So these are great things. So please share with us from what you've seen so far. If you feel like you're inspired, there's something you want to share, please feel free to post about it. Use the hashtag Design Week PH 2021. So we'll welcome back Bettina. My apologies for that. We had some technical issues at this point. So we'll put Bettina back so that you can finish her video.
hi.
Hi, Bettina. Welcome back.
I'm sorry about that. So I got cut after the video. I'm sorry. Okay. So as I was saying, here. Okay. So this year, we launched the iStation. That's Inspire, Inquire, Ideate, Invent. And it is a standalone alternative learning program where learners can bring their interests to life through passion projects. The iStation was adapted from Genius Hour, which came from Google's 20-minute time. And employees spend 20 minutes of their time working on passion projects. So for iStation, our students will spend time working on creating projects out of their interests. Starting with an inspiration, the learners will then inquire about their topic of interest and find a purpose for their passion. Then the learners will put together their discoveries and ideate outputs for their projects. Prototypes of their inventions will then be fabricated before presenting the projects to an audience. So during the first quarter, which just ended last week, the kids focused on tinkering with loose parts, and now they've started putting up their passion boards. One student's interest is cancer, and we've yet to find out where that came from, and we're looking forward to see what she comes up with. So these are our efforts to continue offering design thinking and play during the pandemic, and hopefully Through iStation, we get to help our kids develop the skills and mindsets that design thinking and play help foster. So that's it. Thank you for listening to my sharing. And I hope you were able to hear the entire last part of the presentation.
Thank you again, Bettina. Of course, we won't be in the Philippines without these types of problems. So, of course, we'll move on. So, class, let's settle down. We got one more speaker with us today, and I would like to introduce to you our next presenter. No, he is a teacher and a designer. By merging both perspectives, he found his passion to design creative learning experiences for everyone. He is the co-founder and executive director of Habi Educational Lab, a design studio that applies human-centered design to learning solutions. Through Habi, he has facilitated design workshops to more than 20,000 educators and has worked on projects for a wide range of partners, such as the Department of Education of the Philippines, Globe Telecoms, UNICEF, and many more. He has designed professional learning programs for Pearson, Technicolor, and PwC UK, and has served as a consultant for the Commission on Higher Education of the Philippines for materials development and teacher training programs. Currently, he teaches courses on educational technology and design at the University of the Philippines. Give it up for Gerson Abesamis.
Hello, everyone. Good
Hi,
evening. Good evening,
Gerson. Good
Miguel.
afternoon.
Hi. Yes. Hello. Good afternoon. Or
It's a
evening na,
pleasure to
actually.
have
It's
you
six.
here. Oh
Yes.
yeah,
Yes.
it's
It's a
6
pleasure
p.m.
also.
Good
Yeah.
evening now.
Yeah. Thank
You know,
you.
your work with Habi has definitely reached a lot of ears. You, in your intro, it's mentioned 20,000 educators, and I'm sure that's more than that even. How would you describe the impact of your work from the time you started Habi to today, especially for your work with DepEd?
Oh my gosh. Well, even if 20,000 seems a lot, but like if you look at DepEd is a massive organization and it has almost I think 100,000 teachers. And so it's really I think when I think about impact, it really is just right now. It's hard to measure how much big of a difference we make, but it's mostly how the relationships we make when it comes to collaborating with organizations like DepEd or some other government agencies. It's really just to support them in how in their overall purpose and overall to strengthen their systems. It's not really to replace them or to change whatever they're doing, but it's
Of
really to
course.
work and collaborate with them. It's not exactly easy, but I think collaboration is really necessary at this point. Yeah.
Well, it seems like you're barely scratching the surface still. So we look
Yeah.
forward to hearing for what you have to say. So once again, I'd like to inform our audience members that if you have any questions for Gerson later on, or any of the other speakers, you can leave it in the chat for us to answer during our Q&A. So the floor is all yours, Gerson.
Yes. Thank you. So I'll share my screen. Yes, so good evening, everyone, again for having me here. I'm going to be sharing with you mostly the work that we do in Habi and how we what we call designing better learning. We call ourselves learning experience designers. And so if you are an educator and you're curious about design and how to apply it in your own practice, then you might pick up some tips in this talk. If you're a creative, and I think many of you are also because this is the design weekend. So if you're, let's say, a graphic designer or a visual designer, a service designer, any type of the designer creative fields, and you're interested to collaborate in education and how to support the overall learning journey of humans of Filipinos from preschoolers to professionals, then maybe you can also pick up some stories that I have here. So mostly what I'm going to be sharing is starting with why we do what we do in Habi, just to share with you the purpose that we have, why we started, and what we've been doing. And then I'm going to talk a bit about our main, I guess, pillars or approaches of how we design better learning, how we collaborate with big organizations like DepEd or corporates or NGOs or nonprofits or academic institutions. And then finally, I'm going to share with you our perspective of what good design is. Hopefully, this will also make you feel excited to design not just for your own sectors or your own disciplines, but to collaborate with educators like me or collaborate with teachers and educational institutions. Yeah. So I'll just get started. And I wanted actually to begin with an exercise. So if you were, so allow me just to for you to think about maybe a minute or so. If we were to build the worst learning experience ever, and we can use your past experiences, your high school, college, elementary, or even recent learning experiences that you've had. What ingredients would you put? So maybe take a moment to think. Look through the chat if there are any responses in the chat. Just take a moment and think, what are the worst learning experiences that you've had? What ingredients would you include? So you might be perhaps thinking, again, some of your again recent experiences, maybe a webinar that you attended or a workshop that you had. You might be thinking about your terror professor in college. You might be thinking about some of a traumatic experience or a very boring class that you took, or maybe an online lesson that didn't really quite hit the mark. It wasn't as exciting, or it wasn't as memorable as you would hope. A bad teacher, whether it's pure memorization. There's a lot of things. And I think one thing that we have to remember, and this is what also led me to the work that I do, is we are surrounded by badly designed learning experiences. A lot of good ones, definitely, a lot of excellent learning experiences, but there's also a lot of really badly designed ones. And sometimes these badly designed learning experiences can actually make us not love learning. It can make us be afraid of learning, of growth, of becoming better people, of becoming better agents of social change, of becoming participants in the world. And also echoing what Bettina shared, badly designed learning experiences can also lead to a decrease of creativity, a decrease of a sense of wonder or a growth mindset, right? And this, I guess, this main problem, which is quite invisible to many of us, because sometimes you just accept, it's just going to be a boring teacher, or they're going to be boring always, or it's going to be something that I just have to go through. It's not really good. But sometimes we have to think that we can do better, right? As a design discipline, as designers, we are quite optimistic. We look at problems as opportunities to improve, to design, to redefine, to reinvent whatever it is that we're seeing, what we're feeling. And so that's what led me and my friends to form Habi Education Lab. And that's basically what we do. We were informed, or we were obsessed actually with these questions from different disciplines, trying to merge, education, user experience design or service design, and human-centered design, social sciences, the different design disciplines like product design, graphic design, and technology. All of these, when we merge together, that's mostly the practice and the day-to-day questions that keep me up at night, which led to what we call learning experience design. So allow me to introduce this, I guess, this term, or this, I guess, discipline for you. We call ourselves in Habi learning experience designers, because for us, the medium that we work with are learning experiences. And what do we mean when we say learning experiences? It could actually mean anything, as long as it has a learning goal. Whether it's a game for disaster readiness, an app that you're designing for teachers, visual aids for your class, or whether you're a community educator and you're working with the grassroots and empowering them, upskilling them um, on certain competencies, or if you're a teacher and you're designing a course pack because of the pandemic. All of these have learning goals, and they can all be designed. So think about that for a moment, right? If you are a teacher, am I really a designer? And if I'm a designer, how can I design these learning experiences? And so that's what actually, um, like I said, it's the work, it's the practice that we do at Habi. We design learning experiences. We collaborate with educators, with creatives, with thinkers, with researchers. And what we try to do is we try to design better learning experiences for everyone. But in this case, I'm going to share you some stories about how we design it for young people. Young people meaning kids, high schoolers, elementary schoolers, or even preschool age children. So how do we do it? We do it in two ways in Habi. The first one is we support educators. We work with them. We don't replace them. We don't tell them that, oh, you're broken, you're bad, you're not a good teacher. But we actually build them up. And we believe that teachers are natural designers. If you're familiar with design thinking involves empathy, it involves prototyping, iteration. Teachers do that every day. We teachers, we empathize with our students. We redo some lessons if it didn't work. If we encounter technical difficulties in a Zoom class, for example, we pivot and we try our best to deliver a learning experience that's meaningful for our students. And so teachers are designers, but sometimes we don't know it. Sometimes we need to be reminded of it. And so part of our work in Habi is we provide tools like these. We provide them with training. We help them discover their design sensibilities, their design skills, their inner creativity, so that they can apply it to their day-to-day lives. Right. Sometimes you also do much more hands-on work, and this is one example. I think back in 2015 and 2016, we were partnering with MoveEd, and we would do field support for teachers. And part of that, instead of just doing simple mass trainings, having thousands or hundreds of teachers in one room, we would observe them and look at them and look at their practice, but also help them discover what practices are actually working for them, helping them discover their own designer or their own creative confidence. So that's one way of how we support better learning experiences for students, is to work with teachers, is to work with educators. So if you're an educator or a teacher, whether formal or informal, perhaps you might want to discover design thinking or the power of design and how it can inform your practice as an educator. The other side of it is also for us in Habi, we design learning experiences ourselves. So we work with artists, with creatives, app designers, video producers, all these collaborators, so that we can create what we call learning resources or touch points in an experience, so that they can also be well designed, whether it's in and out of school. Some examples. Um, some examples of which are, for example, this is a project that we worked on with Save the Children, and this was targeted towards parents and caregivers. So you don't necessarily have to work also directly with students, but you also have to think who else might might impact the learning experience of young people. Parents are one of them. So this is a collaboration with Save the Children. We created posters and toolkits for parents so that they can help help their students and help their children to become more creative and develop the skills. Another project that we had is with Miriam College, and you can also see how design can not just you're not just designing single touch points, but you can also design curriculum. So this is us working with Miriam College and creating what we call Module Zero. This was an introductory module for all undergraduate students in Miriam College to help them adjust to the remote and modular learning system. And part of this process also is engaging with students and prototyping with them, understanding their contexts. Imagine if we as teachers or we as designers, we don't just design with experts, or we don't just design with adults, but we design with students for the learning experiences that they will experience or they will use, right? So it's also using that participatory aspect of design thinking in the process of design. Another project that we had, I think this is also 2016, was with Philippine Business for Education, or PBED, called STEM Power Our Girls. And so we also designed workshops for them. How can they discover the beauty of STEM, so science, technology, engineering, and math, in the everyday, and also using design thinking as a methodology for them to discover their creativity, right? So design and science are very well intertwined with each other, because I think design makes science much more realistic or much more authentic for our students. So that's basically two ways of how you can do it. You can work with teachers, and then teachers can become these creative agents of change in classrooms, or we can actually create better learning resources or learning experiences for our students and for young people. So now I'm going to share with you from our experiences of working in various projects since 2014. So actually turning 7 years this month actually. What we've discovered is what makes a good learning experience has these four elements. So we call them the design principles, and it's a way also for you if you're a designer and you want to think, how can I build learning experiences? Let's say if you're about to build a workshop or you're about to create a toolkit or a community game or of some sorts, you can try using these four words, or um, you can try applying these four principles. First is malinaw or clear. It has to be very understandable, right? Design is not just for aesthetics. Design has to have a function, and the function of a learning experience is in service of the learning goal. Second is kasya lahat or inclusive. We as Filipinos, it's important for us to have a sense of belonging. And if we don't provide that in the learning experience, we will feel neglected or we won't feel seen. It's going to be hard for us to participate truly in the learning experience. Third is makatao or human. It has to provide that element of self-efficacy, agency that you can do it. You can become better. And finally, nagsusulong or inspiring. It has to provide an element of inspiration, an element of aspiration, speaks to the motivations of the learners, of the people who will be part of that learning experience. Right. So what does this look like in practice? I'll share with you a quick one of how this was applied in a recent project that we had. This was in collaboration with the Office of the Vice President, VP Lenny Robredo. And what we did was we collaborated with them to onboard their volunteers for a project called Community Learning Hubs. These are physical hubs around the country that provided spaces for learners who did not have physical spaces to learn at home, to have spaces for tutorials, spaces for synchronous sessions, or to do their modules. So what does that look like? Malinaw, or simply put, clear, is just basically looking at the content that you have and making sure that it's structured in a good way. If you're a user interface designer, user experience designer, you also have to think about navigability, easy navigation. I don't know if that's a word. Um, but when you think about the platforms where your learning experiences will be delivered, it has to be understandable. Even the labels, even the outline, even the chunking of the modules, that's part of the design process. So perhaps when you're starting to think about a learning experience, think about, is this clear? Magigets ba ng learners? Will they be able to navigate this on their own? Will they be able to check their progress on their own? So this is an example of the Community Learning Hub's onboarding program. We used Facebook, and so we organized the topics in a Facebook group, and Facebook group has this feature called guides, and it became self-paced learning modules for them. Second is kasya lahat, and with kasya lahat, it's really important, especially in the online learning space now, that it has to be inclusive. If they can't access the learning experience, then they won't be learning, right? So we looked at the data, we looked at what devices do they use. We learned that it was purely mobile, or like 90% of the learners used mobile. And many of them did not have enough bandwidth to play video. So we looked at creating transcripts for videos. We looked at mobile friendly materials. We looked at adding subtitles and making sure that the resources are free and accessible for everyone. So that's inclusion or inclusivity, kasya lahat. Third is makatao or human. We made it as personable as possible. With online learning or distance learning, it could feel very removed, right? You don't sense or you don't hear the person. It could be very formal. It doesn't feel like a person is talking to you. So what we try to do is we try to add that element of humanity. We try to add that element that, yes, we are actually a group of volunteers working together, providing synchronous gatherings to blend with the asynchronous modules so that they can work with each other, they can meet, and they can see who's behind those cameras. And then finally would be nagsusulong or inspiring. With learning experiences, it has to be aspirational. It has to pull the motivations and the emotions of the learners. If you recall your best learning experiences, it probably involved something that was more hopeful, something that allowed you to become better at who you are, something that is in line with your hopes and dreams. And so parts of the things that we included here was one, including including a simultaneous yet distributed set of graduation ceremonies, so that allow them to aspire for something. I wanted to finish this online module, this technical skills about COVID or about all these knowledge, so that I can graduate. And second was also looking at, what do people find cool or interesting or motivational. And so part of the OVP's projects also was collaborating with artists and celebrities to create educational videos. So including these videos also added a sense of delight, adding a sense of, an aspirational flavor. And perhaps, the videos, they were well made. They weren't just, like DIY type of videos. They were in collaboration with volunteer ad agencies and production agencies. So also adding that sense of polish, or adding that sense of learning experience that is well prepared, really created an inspiring feel for the learning experience. So that's it. That's the four design principles that we have, and this was what the learning experience looked like. Shockingly, we were actually floored with the progress that in 1 month 92% completed the online courses, right? And I think this is when we were asking them, how did you complete it, or what was, what led to the success of this learning experience, is mostly because of these four words, or these four principles. They felt that the learning experience was designed for them. It was accessible, it was something that was personable, it was something that was approachable, something that was, inspiring for them. And so that's why I think it's interesting also to note that when you think about learning experiences, and when you think about what makes a good learning experience, it's not just things that are happening inside schools. So it's also happening outside of schools. So if you're a parent, if you're working in a community, or if you have onboarding programs in your organization, all of those are learning experiences. And by the end of the day, we're not just designing for young people, but we're designing for everyone. So that's the invitation for all of you here in this talk also, is to think about learning and education not just as a discipline that's different from creativity, something that's boring, something that's not well designed. When we say, oh, it's educational, pwedeng pangit, that's something that really takes me off. Something I think we deserve better when it comes to learning experiences. And so the invitation again is to look at these principles, to see how they fit in your daily practice as educators, as creatives, as people. And hopefully we can, design better learning experiences, not just for young people, but for everyone else. That's it. Thank you. I'm looking forward to your questions.
Thank you, Gerson, for sharing the great work you've done with Habi's programs and with design thinking. It's wonderful that you've talked about the learning experience, designing the learning experience today. And it's wonderful that you're using badly designed ones to learn from it to create a better experience. So from what one of my takeaways is that Habi has been journeying together with our educators on building up the teachers to design thinking trainings, giving them the tools to help them apply what they've learned into their own programs. So if you've liked Gerson's presentation or any of the others you've seen today, feel free to post about it and share it with the hashtag DesignWeekPH 2021. So before we get into our discussion, let's take some time to highlight some of the positive energy that we've been getting from our attendees. So we'll be flashing some of them on the screen. Christine Joy Virano said, I do too have dreams of creating a design-focused school that could nurture little artists. Wow. Good luck on that. Hopefully something here can inspire you to do something better. What else do we have? We have, sorry, let me read this real quick. Christita Saban, one of the biggest lessons for me so far in the 4 days of our webinar is that our designs and creations can really change the world. Thank you. Yes, very nice. What else do we have? Warren Quinones said, Sophia, amazing. I agree with you. I was impressed with that 11-year-old whose diction, very perfect. Galing. Galiza Calzado, Play makes everything possible. Nice. Do we have any more? Let's see if we have any more comments coming in. Okay, so it looks like that's it. No, now that we're done with all our lectures, it's time for our oral recitation, also known as the Q&A. So I'd like to welcome back our panelists, Dr. Ani Almario, Mylene Abiva, Bettina Luciano, and Gerson Abesamis. Welcome back, everyone. I hope you're ready to be graded. I mean, asked a few questions submitted by our audience members.
Sure.
So yeah, it's wonderful getting to hear each and every one of your contributions to improving the educational structure that we currently have. So there are some questions that are being posted, and there are a lot of good ones. No, so let's start with for Annie. This one's directed to Dr. Annie. Being a relatively new school, can you describe to us the qualities of a Raya graduate? Like what values, what traits will that Raya graduate have? And what do you see Raya students doing 10 years down the line?
I've always said that what's important when it comes to kids is not what they're going to do in the future, but because we always expect them to be someone big or someone successful in the future, but we should think about preparing them for things that they can do now. So right now, Raya students are actually very vocal, very opinionated about what happens in society, and I would say more empowered than your usual kid to do some changes. So I think those are qualities of a Raya student.
Thank you, Dr. Annie. This next question goes to Mylene. So Mylene, the question goes, problem solving is a valued skill in today's world. How do your offerings, which are specifically Lego Digital Designer and Minecraft, help build problem solving skills?
Well, first of all, they learn how to follow instructions, right? And then deciphering order, understanding quality, symmetry, and patterns. And these are crucial in developing mathematical and science skills, special skills, and also encourage us in developing and how to do problem solving skills. So what we are offering for Lego is the hand is the extension of the mind. So what you will create is already absorbed in your mind. For Minecraft, it's game-based learning. So it's a virtual way for you to build your world and make solutions or problems or solutions to problems. So these are both the offerings that we have, and it's both virtual as well as physical. And I believe that it's important for us to have critical thinkers, design thinkers in our society.
I agree completely. Critical thinking is one of the most important skills that we value in today's world. Thank you so much, Mylene. For Bettina, a question goes, going online for early child development has been difficult, especially for the younger ones, no? And including their parents. Did design thinking play a part in redesigning the learning experience for them, not just the students, but also the parents? If so, how?
It actually did. Actually, last year felt like we did a lot of prototyping in terms of our routines, improving our programs and sessions. So we had conversations with parents on what kind of mode of learning they preferred. We also had one-on-one sessions with the students to get to know them better and what their learning styles are like. Um, we also started offering mindfulness sessions, giving importance to mental health and being present. So throughout the year, we would constantly ask our students and
Mhm.
parents on what we can do to improve our session. So because of their feedback, for this year, we were able to tweak our routines, and now we have iStation. So it's an ongoing process, and design thinking really played a big part in that.
I love it. It's iterative, so it keeps improving. So going
Yeah.
on and on. No? Very nice. Thank you. This one goes to Gerson. Can you share some of your experiences and challenges working with the DepEd, Department of Education of the Philippines?
Yeah, I think so. Like I said, like it's still a process. So we do collaborate with departments of education in different ways, from the central office up to some of the regional offices there, from doing trainings, collaborating with them on some of their systems design, or collaborating on some of their the work that they do. And I think one of the biggest challenges would really be to think about scale, to think about how many learners are part of the system, how many teachers are part of the system, and it's always going to be that push and pull, because no matter how much you want to add context and you want to add new ones to some of the policies, it's always going to be a push and pull between very local solutions or local ways to apply certain policies with some more national policies. And that's one thing that I think um, we have added, at least in the perspectives and some in the projects that we've had with DepEd. For example, we've been working with the ALS task force. The ALS is a parallel program of the Department of Education, and we've been working with them on how to redesign their teacher training, and then also looking at how to upskill their educators and how to look at their overall learning journey through technology and how technology can support that. And it's always going to be at the end of the day, how many learners are we reaching, and can we reach everyone? Because DepEd has a mandate that they have to reach everyone. And it's not just the ones who can access, it's not just the ones who can afford, it's not just the ones who can pay for certain things, but we have to reach all learners as we can. And I think with design thinking and design thinking as a process, it's empathic. You want to think about the local context, and you want to understand the local needs of people. At the same time, when you're going through the design process, you're also empowering people to think about their own creativity and their own ways of what they can do to solve certain problems. And I think that's one of the things that design thinking has certainly helped with agencies like DepEd, is really to look at the process and to look at how to make it as inclusive for everyone.
Thank you, Gerson. I think that's a very common question that we experience nowadays, no, especially as educators, having to deal with rep ed and having to deal with the ever changing ecosystem of the educational system that we have. Which brings us to actually the next question. This is for all the speakers, no. The question is, what do you think is missing in our current educational systems? And is there anything that you'd like to say about our current world rankings? And if ever, how has the migration from the national curriculum to K to 12 done for you? It's a lot of questions. So anyone who wishes to take it on first.
I think we should stop looking at the world rankings for a moment, maybe for more than a moment, because we really get consumed by it, and we think about and thinking about the world rankings just leads us to think about what we lack in terms of our curriculum, what gaps we have. I think what would be helpful for our country, for DepEd, and for all the schools is to think about how we can empower the teacher, how we can empower the teacher to have more ownership of the curriculum of his or her classroom. Uh, part of that is having the teacher participate in processes like design thinking, and having the teacher do design thinking with his or her class. I think it's good to go back to our teachers and ask them, what do you need in order to perform your job well, in order to teach well, to run your classrooms well, and to make learning happy and productive.
Thank you,
If I
Dr.
may,
Anna. Yes,
if I
Mylene,
may
please.
if I may add on to what Annie has mentioned, I believe we need to humanize schools. As even in design thinking, even critical thinking, we have to stop letting our students memorize, and memorize.
Yes.
And I think that's the way for me to do it. Critical thinkers are important. They think they are problem solvers, and these are the kind of citizens that we need, as well as the youth. The future of workforce is should be critical thinkers. One other thing I'd like for the Department of Education and our curriculum to focus on is also an inquiry-based learning. We have to ask questions, and the questions also, students ask questions. These questions may not have answers, but at least these questions are being asked, because that's the only way for us to learn, is when we have these questions, and knowing about what's around us, what's surrounding us, and having an ecosystem, an educational ecosystem that's inclusive.
Yeah, I'd like to chime in as well, and just to add to
Sure.
that, I think it's um so I'm a big fan of asset-based thinking and strengths, being strengths-based, meaning looking at what we have versus what we don't have. And I think it's quite an ironic thing. I think that's what's lacking. That's what's lacking in Philippine education, is that perspective or that mindset. We always, like to echo what teacher Annie said, we always think about what do we don't have that other countries have? What do this school have? What does the school have that other schools don't have? And that's always going to be a mindset that is very pervasive, not just for school leaders to their teachers, but also the teachers to the students. And that's why you also have these teachers. We have teachers, and for us, and I mean as well for us, we've been trained this way, we've been taught this way. Then when we think about our students, we always think about what do they not know yet, what do they need to know, what are the things that they don't know. And instead of thinking, "Wait, what can they do, what are the things that they already know, what are they bringing into this learning experience." And I
What
think
can
if
we
we
build on?
yes, what can we build on, are the existing practices that we can do. And I think that's one also thing, also echoing to the previous question about DepEd. Sometimes some partners who collaborate with DepEd would always think about, oh, DepEd, you have something missing and you have to do this in a particular way, as opposed to approaching agencies and saying, you're already doing this in a good way, let's build on top of this. I think that's a it's not just within teachers, it's not just within classrooms, it's also within the leadership, even us as Filipinos. It's a massive, massive mindset shift that I think can transform how we look at education. And it essentially changes what do we mean when we say learning. Is learning filling in the gaps of something that we don't know, or is learning actually participating in an experience where all of us chime in, like Minecraft, all of us bringing our own props, our own past backgrounds into an experience where everyone can thrive.
Me, yeah, just to complete the recitation. Speaking of mindsets, I think we should also change the way we view failure. We should
Yeah.
see it as an opportunity to learn. And because of how we view failure, we are maybe we're not doing it on purpose, but we are training kids to be good at school, just doing schoolwork. When instead we should be empowering kids to be masters of learning. So that's my 2 cents.
I want to highlight what you just said, Bettina, no, because you've mentioned this also earlier. The fear of failure is actually pervasive, not just in the kids, but even the adults. We've all been products of this educational system, and a lot of our graduates have that, the fear of failure. The
Kung
very, very
nag-design,
nice.
kung nag-design thinking tayo, wala tayong fear of failure.
Actually,
Yes,
Part yan
true.
ng design
Baka
process
mas
eh.
mataas ang world
correct.
ranking.
Oo, part yan ng research at design.
Very true, very true. And I think if we are able to institute these changes on a national scale, it might actually, we might actually start to do more than scratching the surface. No, and it leads me to, if I may, just a follow up question to this question that was asked earlier. How does that make you feel about standardized testing? Because if people are geared towards memorizing answers, towards critical thinking, how does that fit then?
Miguel, do you want to open another panel discussion just on standardized testing?
Habang usapan yan, biglang
Okay.
napapis.
Let's share teacher Annie's paper.
Oo.
Let's not go into that because that's another 3 hours.
That's a whole different slew of
Yeah.
insight, I think. Yeah.
But let me also say that when we look at world rankings and how we do well in standardized testing, we're always comparing ourselves with other people, and that's something that I've gotten from being in a progressive institution. That you always compare yourself to how you were last month, how you were last quarter, how you were last year, and you don't really compare yourself to other people. You're intrinsically motivated to improve yourself, not because of a test score or a leaderboard or rankings. I really like what Gerson said earlier because he's saying that that in order for us to deem ourselves successful, or in order for us to succeed in education, we have to celebrate who we are. We build on what we bring to the classrooms, and then we build on that, and therefore celebrate our ourselves, celebrate our being Filipino. We should stop comparing ourselves to other countries and seeing what we can borrow from Finland. What are they doing in
Singapore.
Singapore? 'Di ba? Parang tingnan natin yung mga sarili natin kasi tayo may strengths din tayo as a people.
Yeah. Isn't there a quote that says, like, the more that you know yourself, the more you can change? And I think if you don't know who you are and what your assets are, it's going to be hard to change because you're always going to be chasing over some standard which is not necessarily, I guess, aligned with who you are. And I think that's I guess that will open up that large discussion about standardized testing. And I think it really is about the purpose of a standardized test. It's not necessarily purely good or purely evil. I think standardized testing will always depend on how it's designed, what's the intention. Is there going to be benchmarking or competitions there? How is it written? Who is the target, competency if it is standardized in a certain way? And how will the data be used afterwards? So there's a lot of questions there, which I think that's why it might not be answered succinctly in our panel. But it's a good question. I think it's a good question to really think about. Yeah, purposes of these
Yeah, if we
commonly
took
things
it
that we
away
have.
today, Gerson, if we took it away today, baka wala namang net effect. Baka we could drop it all together. Just a thought. It might not really be detrimental to us if we got rid of it. But at this point, I think the general view is that it's more efficient. But as Gerson said, if we're not clear about how we're going to analyze the results of the standardized testing, how are we going to read the results in order to improve education, then maybe it's not really serving quite a worthy purpose.
Thank you for those answers. So I guess we go to the next question. No? And since we're in the topic of design thinking, this is from one of our audience members, from Geliza Calzado. I might be massacring your name. I'm sorry in advance. How do you think design thinking can be cascaded to public schools? This is for Doc Annie, actually.
It's for me, but si Gerson ang makakasagot niyan. Pero for our part, for our school's part, we've always opened our doors to, well, when we used to be in a building, literally we opened our doors to schools and teachers who wanted to observe and wanted to discuss practices with their teachers. And we continue to do that kahit online. If people want to observe our classes and talk with their teachers about certain issues and approaches in education, I think that's the way. That's the way to not just cascade it to public schools, but cascade it to everyone, to the community. But I think Gerson can answer for public schools.
I think yes, thank you, Teacher Annie. I think for public schools, there are many ways. So if we're looking for very concrete ways, and this is what we've been also trying to do. One is to find if you want to cascade it. Let's say you're a school system, or let's say you're a school district or a division, finding subjects that are similar in terms of competencies or in terms of nature, and then finding ways of how design thinking can be embedded into that. So things like right now, media information literacy in senior high school, the research subjects, or any of the science subjects have been there have been a lot of schools that have been successful in using design thinking as a pedagogy for them, but not just in those subjects. And I think with design thinking, you can apply it in any discipline, in literature, in Filipino, in English, in math. Bettina has shared that they've done it in preschool and kindergarten, so it can be. I think one thing also is to show some exemplars, and local exemplars are very useful. So having a webinar like this, where teachers and school years can share their local examples, are very useful, so that we don't just compare ourselves to how do other schools do it, design how do other countries do design thinking in schools, but maybe in your own areas you can find uh, examples also. Another thing is finding existing practices in schools that mirror or that are parallel to design thinking. So for example, for us, we've worked with some DepEd schools, and they have a process called continuous improvement. It's a way for them to look at their current processes, and every year they try to improve and they try to innovate. If you hear take out continuous improvement and you hear the description, it sounds like design thinking. And so for us, we've been able to work with these schools, embedding design thinking into their current practices. And that's what I mean when we say looking at strengths, looking at current practices, instead of finding ways to replace things, completely replace, find ways that that schools are familiar with, find things that our parents or students are familiar with, and then try to embed design thinking mindsets and practices into that.
Thank you. Thank you for that answer. This next question goes to Mylene. Um, he says, just curious, Lego and Minecraft are foreign designed innovation companies. Their innovations empower children to open up his or her multiple intelligent sides of the brain. Do we have no Filipino innovations designed to open up the intellectual sides of the brain of the Filipino children?
Actually, we do. Lego and Minecraft are foreign, yes, they're foreign. And Lego has been in existence for over 80 years. Minecraft, we've been a partner since 2016. And these are just platforms. The students can do, or in fact, I have a sample. It's called Kraken, where it's an app called Kraken, stands for Kids Routine App for Kinetic Energy. It is that students move and then they can move a car. So it's a race for the car, but you have to move. It is done by an 11-year-old, a team of 4 students from 11 to 14-year-olds. And it was featured in the TV and in other educational channels. And since the main purpose of what we do for Lego education is on robotics, is that we are now able to patent our robots. In fact, we have 2 pending patents. One is Project Feet. It's a robot that can make slippers, and with piezo disc, it can power your mobile phones with kinetic energy. The other one is a Project Bike, where you run a bike and it can shred paper, and from the paper you can make pencils out of the paper, disposed paper. So these are just samples that the Filipino ingenuity is there. We just have to have the opportunity and also the protection from government so that these patents can turn into the industry and be manufactured.
Wow, thank you. Thank you for sharing that. This next question goes to Bettina. So, how did play in children change or adjust since the lockdown?
You know what? What's great about kids is that they will always find a reason to play. So they would always find a way to play together. And as I mentioned, when faced with challenges, kids don't really say, "Okay, playtime is over." So for my class, they started with requesting for us to go in the call earlier. So I would go in class earlier so they can play together. So they would do mini plays, and then they discovered breakout rooms. So towards the end, they would request to, go to one breakout room because the play group, those doing the mini plays are there, and then another group would go to the art breakout room where they would draw together. So it's really amazing how they were able to integrate technology. Magaling talaga sila eh, makahanap ng way. And they were able to integrate technology and our limitations. So it's great that we don't really see boundaries that much. Kaya very divergent din yung pag-approach nila sa play even during the pandemic.
That's very good to hear. Parang tubig lang, ano? To always find a way to push through.
Yeah.
Play is prevalent. That's very good. So we have another question. This time, another question for Gerson, actually. How can we protect children from the negative side effects of too much screen time in a distance learning setup?
Oh my gosh. If you know the answer to that, also, I have a 2-year-old daughter. I'd like to know though. Just kidding. But anyway, I think, shucks, I think it's always been this debate, especially in the research the past, I guess, 10 years, where you have these children who are digital natives. You have 1 year olds who can navigate through tablets and they can open apps and all. And so there's this debate: is screen time purely good, or purely, does it have a lot of negative effects? And one of the things that I've learned from the research that I've been reading, also in the literature, and also from my mentors as well, is it's about co-viewing. Well, if it's about screen time in the context of television or watching, videos or animated series, it's about co-viewing. It's about participating in what your children are watching too, so that you can talk to them, you can relate to them. It's something that you shared. It's something that, unfortunately, especially in the pandemic, we did rely on a lot of Netflix and a lot of TV screens and Zoom, so that we can be entertained, or we can talk to family members and friends. But I think one piece of advice that I've also been trying to adapt is co-viewing, is making sure that it's not just something that you plop your child in and then you just leave them there, but it's something that you participate in together. But not to say, though, I think it's also quite different now, because not all parents or not all families would have the benefit of, let's say, having a yaya to take care of children, or having extended family members. And it's also being kind to yourself as parents. If you are to use screen time, I don't think that's my personal opinion. It's not necessarily bad all the time. It's just about the purpose of how you do it, and how you um, embed it through the natural day or rhythm of your child. I think another thing that might be useful is having breaks, or having, especially if your child is doing online learning, like 7 to 5 every day, having routines and having breaks that do not involve any devices are also good. That you can also participate in those breaks, or that you can use those as meals where you can talk to each other, or they can help you prepare food, any other activities that you can think of in your homes that do not necessarily involve screens. So that those are some ideas, but maybe some of my some of my co-panelists are also parents. You might also have ideas as well.
Yeah.
Well, I think, yeah, you're right. You should be involved in your children's activities, whether digital or not. And well, my kids are already grown up, but I what I do is there should be a limit, or a calendar of things to do. Like you have a routine, like you be together physically together, so that you can still bond as a family. I think that is really crucial for all of us, whether our children are young or our children are
Oh,
millennials already.
I think the common denominator here really is balance. If correct me if I'm wrong, no, but from what I'm hearing from your answers, it's really a matter of being able to balance out the time that they spend on screens online. Yeah.
And just to
Yes.
add on, just to add on to what Miss Mylene said, it's also fun if you spend playtime with your kids, like me. Unfortunately, I also learned how to play PUBG and Call of Duty, but it's considered, family time. And then you can deviate from that by offering offline games. So at home, we like tinkering with loose parts. So makalat, mahilig magtago ng mga packaging, but it's something that we've really enjoyed, and that's one thing that I use until now. I also introduce off-screen play, but I make sure that I'm also there para engaged kaming dalawa.
Thank you for sharing that, Bettina. All right. So this next question is directed to all of you. How do we address the capabilities of our teachers, and how do we prepare for or address this educational disruption that is already present? I'm guessing they're referring to teaching and learning in a pandemic. Anybody want to take a first shot at it?
May I?
Sure, Bettina. Yes.
I think, well, for me, not just for our teachers, but I think it's very important, especially now, for us to be present with each other, try to listen to what what the teachers need, and what I need, for me, for example, like me as a parent, and we should also, I think that's it. Just listen and empathize with each other. And maybe through that, we'll be able to address any issues. Because, diba, when you listen and you understand, that's that's how you are able to think of solutions. And I'm a firm believer of collaborating and working together. So that's for me.
I'd
Thank
like
you.
to also affirm what Bettina has mentioned. Yes, we need to collaborate. We have to support each other, for the educators and for the parents themselves, who were clueless on how to do homeschooling or remote learning. We have to help each other, because this is the only way for us to make sure that our students, our learners, are successful. So we have to communicate, build communities if we need to, and support, share resources, share our time, and share our love and compassion, because it's not an easy feat. We're already on our second year on remote learning, and hopefully the schools will open. So I think, yeah, we have to help each other, and we'll survive and thrive.
Amen to that. Amen to that, Mylene. Anybody else want to chime in before we move on to our
Yeah.
last question?
I'd like to add quickly also that
Sure.
I think if you look at it from a perspective of how to train teachers or how to do perfect, how to improve, how to support teachers so that we can become better teachers, I think one reminder is it's never always going to be solved by just a single training that we do or a single event. It's always going to be a longer program.
Yeah.
Innovation is a process and change is a process. And so when we look at the learning experience of teachers, when we want to support them to become better teachers, it's not just going to be, it shouldn't just be a one off type of thing. It should always have to be thinking about how to make learning continuous for teachers, how to support them in other ways, not just not just being trained on a particular skill, but also help teachers, improve the work the work conditions of teachers. Teachers in the past year has been, I would say, I was a teacher. I'm a teacher. Um, might be biased, but we've been one of the most, I guess, stressed out professions aside from parents and the healthcare workers, perhaps, because we had to make all these shifts. And when training is done in a top-down way where we're not consulted, when we're not involved in the process, or it doesn't it doesn't take into consideration our current context, it will only just be done for compliance, and it will never be something that can transform our practice or that can transform our way of thinking. So make sure that when we're working with teachers is looking at the overall learning journey, looking at how to continuously support teachers in not just in the training but in many different ways, through communities, through improving working conditions, through helping them find delight in learning, all of those things.
Perfect. Thank you, Gerson. All right. Um, for our last question, again, this is directed to all of you. I too want to start designing with a purpose, especially in encouraging young kids to explore their creative side. What are your tips about where to start and how to begin?
So I guess the one who asked is a designer, and um, I want to share that there's a designer named Tipigo, and she has a site called Googly Gooey's, and she's a mom. She's a mom and a graphic designer, and what she does to help out other moms is to have free printables. They can be, I think, they're it's different stuff. Some are flashcards, some are worksheets, some are things that your child can cut. They're templates, and she's sharing these things because she knows that not all moms are as good with graphic design as she is. So I think if you're a designer and you can do these things and make it available for the whole community, make your talent useful to the whole community. I think you can embark on a similar project.
Wow. Thank you for that wonderful tip.
I have, yeah, I would like to chime in. Uh, yeah, when the pandemic struck last year, what we did, because there's little funds for those who are the beneficiaries of our webinars, is that we gave them free resources online. For example, Lego Education, which we showed you, the Lego Education Digital Designer is free. So you can just download and you can use Lego Digital Designer for free to make animation, to make comics. So go and check out resources. Tinkercad is also free. There are other resources that you can get for free, and then you can use it for your students so that they don't incur any expenses. Both the students and the parents don't incur any expenses.
Thank you for sharing that. That would have been a great tool for a lot of other teachers around. No?
I can go. Bettina, do you want
Yes,
to go?
please.
I can.
No, you can go
I'll
ahead.
go. Like, simple idea for me when I was reading that question also is trying to think, if you're a designer and you want to start building with purpose and you want to help kids or young people discover their creativity, I think one simple way is to find a young person and to create with them. Might sound very simplistic, but if you have a cousin, meron kang pamangkin, you have a child, or you have access, you may inaanak ka, just try to look at their perspective, play with them, participate in the creative process with them, build a fort with them, and maybe you might learn something that might spark some inspiration for you. I think the best way is to just start, and but start not just by doing extensive research also, but maybe play with a young person.
I was gonna say the same thing because it says encouraging young kids to explore their creative side. I'm also I would love to advocate also for process art. Process art focuses on the process and not really the output. So just adding on to what Gerson said, it's very important also for us grown-ups to be included in the creative process. And ibabalik ko lang, it doesn't have to be perfect. You can fail. It doesn't have to look nice. It doesn't have to have a purpose right away. Just find your rhythm and enjoy the process, enjoy the ride and the journey. And hopefully, just by doing what you like to do, or what you just by doing creative things or activities, you'll eventually find a purpose and you will be able to help a lot of people.
Thank you for that also. I think that's, if there's anything that we can take away from today's discussions, no, a lot of it really relies on us being able to put ourselves in the shoes of those that we're designing for. Whether it's we're designing for our students, for helping out our teachers, or even helping out our parents. No? And at the core of it all, design thinking needs to be at the heart of it all, where the problems we're trying to solve is using design thinking to solve them. So, as we end this talk, I'd just like to extend my thanks to the panel for coming out here today and sharing your work with us. No, what you're doing is vital, and it's amazing how we shape the future of design education through the small things that you're doing. And I'm hoping that that small rock that you guys have cast out into the pond of life will ripple out into something greater. So, Design Week Philippines is a decade old. It's a decade old now. That's 10 years, no? And we are now trying to envision what we can do today to help the designers of tomorrow. But before we all go, I would like to invite all of us for a quick photo op. For this, we will be joined by the Executive Director of the Design Center of the Philippines, the amazing Miss Raya. Miss Raya Matute.
Hi!
Hi.
Hi, Rhea.
Hi! My favorite session so far, no?
So far, it's your favorite session.
But that's not a showbiz answer, huh?
All right, so let's take our quick photos. So let's, are we ready? Smile in 3, 2, 1. All right. Thank you, everyone. Goodbye to everyone. Have a great day. I'd also like to remind. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. Stay safe.
So I'd also like to remind our audience to answer our feedback form. Now, to give us some feedback, simply scan the QR code appearing across the screen or in the chat. As members of our design community, your opinion matters. So don't forget to fill out the feedback form. Thank you to everyone who listened to our talks today. Education is changing every day, so we hope we've been giving you an idea of the power of design and how it instills creativity and innovation in kids and in learners of all ages. If you like today's talk, we have more talks, workshops, and master classes lined up for you this coming weekend and throughout the rest of the month. Head over to Design Center's social media pages if you'd like to learn more about DTI Design Center Philippines. Before I go, let me once again say thank you to our partners. The Department of Trade and Industry, our festival co-curator, Fringe Manila and Pineapple Lab, our international partner, the British Council, our creative media partner, Adobo Magazine, our live stream partner, Kumu, our design partner, Canva, and our program partners, NASA Space Apps Philippines, and the half, Fame Plus, Buensalido Architects, University of Cebu Animation, UXPH, lifeafterbreakfast.ph, Matix Hub, Robbins Design Center, Philippine International Comics Online Festival, Comiket, Design Davao Society, Architecture Design de Oro, Cagayan de Oro Design Week. And of course, we'd like to thank our audience members who have joined us today. Don't forget to check out a new project by the Design Center Philippines, Better Normal by Design. Better Normal by Design is about data-driven design process and product development resulting in design solutions fit for the times. Collection of objects were designed quintessentially for the three localized personas: the stabilizer, the settlers, and the new optimists. These collections anticipate the needs and requirements of the personas' emerging lifestyles while being mindful of the consumer shift towards responsible consumerism. Better Normal by Design nudges the Filipino MSMEs into action to rethink products, processes, business plans, and even reasons for existing to resonate with the future of business. Download the lookbook by scanning the QR code in the screen right now. And if you like today's program and want to post about it, don't forget to tag your post with the hashtag DesignWeekPH2021. Once again, thank you for joining us, and we'll all see you tomorrow for our Design Masterclass, Global Opportunities for Global Filipino Designers with AJ Di Marucot. See you then!